All right, good afternoon. We will call to order the Whitestown Redevelopment Authority meeting for June 6th. We are starting here at 3:27 p.m. this afternoon. We will start with a roll call of the members. Cody Adams.
Here.
Eric Moore.
Here.
Shelby Haas. Let the record show we have 2 of 3 members, so we do have a quorum to proceed. So we'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance and then move into the election of officers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is the election of officers. And Dennis, should we take these one at a time, or could we take multiple at a time?
I would suggest we do them
One at a time? All right. So we will open nominations for RDA president.
I nominate Eric.
I second the nomination, I guess.
All right, so with a motion and a second, all those in favor of Eric Moore as president of the RDA, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes 2-1. And Eric, or excuse me, 2-0, yes. Thank you. And then Eric, I will turn it over to you for the other nominations of vice president and secretary.
Yes, I nominate Cody Adams as secretary.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve. Or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Okay. Passes 2-0.
I nominate Shelby to be vice president.
Seconded. So, sorry, what? Yeah. Sorry, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None? Passes 2-0.
Perfect. And then we'll have Dennis just kind of give a brief overview of the RDA with all of the new members on here before we move into our new business for today.
Thanks, Todd. And first off, nice to meet you all. And thank you for being part of the Redevelopment Authority here in the town. The Redevelopment Authority, just by way of background, serves as kind of an arm of the Redevelopment Commission to help the Redevelopment Commission undertake financings. Normally a redevelopment authority is only going to be meeting and acting when there's a project going on and a project financing. And it's similar to, if you're familiar at all with school building corporations or municipal building corporations, the Redevelopment Authority is really what we would call a lease financing body. So anytime that the Redevelopment Commission and sometimes the town, if they want to undertake a financing that's going to involve a pledge of property taxes or local income taxes that invokes the debt limit, if it's going to be over the debt limit or it's going to use up a big portion of the debt limit, a lot of times you can do a lease financing, and the lease financing structure takes the debt limit away. And there's entities that can do that. One of them is the Redevelopment Authority. Another one is a nonprofit building corporation. And the town has one, but there's some efficiencies to using a redevelopment authority. You don't have to convey legal property to a redevelopment authority. you'll see in the resolution here, we have 2 leases, and that's why. The second is you don't have to get petitions signed like you do with certain building corporation financings. We don't have to get appraisals. So it's a more efficient mechanism to accomplish a lease financing. Historically, the town, I think, has done probably 5 or 6 financings using the redevelopment authority over the years. In fact, I think the building that we're in right now was a redevelopment authority financing that was done back in, I'm trying to remember, Todd, but I think it was around 2014, maybe 2015, if that makes sense. And so the resolution we have before you is one of those financings that will have a property tax pledge, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. We don't expect the town to levy that, but because it's on there, it does invoke debt limit matters, and that's why we need to do a redevelopment authority structure. Yeah, please do. Please ask questions, yeah.
But to be clear, the plan is to use the $33 million, up to $33 million in bonds in order to finance the project, as opposed to any type of property tax, and the responsibility beyond that would just be the interest payments on those bonds, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't catch that all that.
So the plan is to finance this through bonds, up to $33 million in bonds, and that's going to be the responsibility as opposed to it being levied through property tax.
Yeah, that's right, Cody. The plan here is that the redevelopment authority will issue not to exceed $33 million of bonds to generate the proceeds that will be used to finance all of the public infrastructure associated with this project. And then those bonds will be repaid over a term of up to 25 years, semi-annual debt service. And those revenues, the revenues to pay those debt service, while there's a property tax pledged, it could be levied. It's not expected to, because we've been working with the municipal advisors, Crone and Associates. Tax increment revenues are going to be the source of payment for these bonds.
TIF financing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll put a little more meat on that bone. You may say, well, why don't we just go out with a bond that is secured solely by TIF revenues? We could do that, but it wouldn't really sell in the marketplace really well. There's just more risk associated with it, and the bonds wouldn't rate as well. So by putting the property tax pledge on, investors are going to go, oh, it's got the property tax pledge. That's just about as secure as can be. It's going to get a very high rating, which will mean lower interest rate, better rating, lower cost to the town.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up on that, so part of the reason that we believe that the property tax portion won't come into play, the Redevelopment Commission also condensed multiple TIF areas or economic development areas for this to be used at, and many of those areas are already producing very well. And so based on all of the projections, essentially that's what tells us that that there will be sufficient funds without needing to use that property tax backup for that.
Do you want me to, Todd, kind of get into the resolution a little bit, or that can be?
Yeah, I think so. If the members would like us, to proceed into that new business piece.
Yep, let's proceed with item 5, consideration of the approval of resolution 2025-01.
Yeah, and if it pleases the authority members, I will kind of give a summary of what's in front of you here. I know it's a rather large resolution. This is nearly identical to resolutions the authority has adopted in the past in connection with these financings. And if you looked across the state of Indiana at a redevelopment authority resolution, this is what the market expects. It's what the rating agencies expect. And so this resolution, as Cody mentioned, it authorizes up to $33 million of financing. We don't think the bonds will actually be issued in that amount. That's a not to exceed amount. But we're going to figure out what's needed to fund the project. If we have to have a reserve, that's in there. Capitalized interest is in there. I don't think we expect any capitalized interest in cost of issuance. It authorizes an interest rate of not to exceed 7%. We're not going to be close to 7% on these bonds. We're probably going to be in the 4.5% range, given current market conditions. And then it authorizes forms of financing agreements that we've prepared. And I want to touch base quickly. There's 2 lease agreements attached to this resolution that are approved. And I'm going to hit the one that's Exhibit B first. That's what we would call the site lease. It's a lease between the Redevelopment Authority and the town. And you might say, well, what do we need to have that lease agreement for? The purpose of that lease is to put assets under the lease agreement between the Redevelopment Authority and the Redevelopment Commission, so we have a leasable asset. And we use roads in this case, existing roads. And there's an important reason for that, because when we go to the rating agencies and bond insurers to get these bonds insured, one of the risks that is involved with the lease financing is legally the Redevelopment Commission can't make a lease rental payment unless there's an asset under the lease that can be used. So if we said, well, we're going to wait until the project being financed, that's going to be the only leased asset, the risk is associated with, well, what if construction gets delayed, something happens, it doesn't get completed, now the bondholders don't know that they're going to get a payment. We take care of that by putting existing roads under the lease as a substitute for that asset. It's accepted in the marketplace. It's being done just about everywhere. So in this case, that's what we've done, and that's why you see the agreement between the town and the authority. This won't change the ability to use those roads or how they're maintained. It's really to get the asset over. The other lease is we kind of refer to it as the financing lease between the Redevelopment Commission and the Redevelopment Authority. This is the lease that says the Redevelopment Commission is going to lease these roads from the Redevelopment Authority, and we're going to pay rental payments that are equivalent to the debt service on the bonds. Right now, we have a not-to-exceed annual lease payment in there. Once the bonds price, we'll do an addendum to this lease that will true that up to actually match the debt service. And in fact, when we close on these bonds, the invoice will come straight to the town. It'll get paid as a payment from the Redevelopment Commission straight to the bond trustee. The lease payments are all assigned to the bondholders, and that's what services the bonds. But that's kind of it. And we outline in this lease agreement, too, the payment source. Now, we talked about that, but you'll see reference in here to the TIF revenues and to the special benefits tax if necessary. And there are some outstanding obligations. Todd mentioned that we're consolidating some TIF areas as part of this to be able to, and the reason we're doing that is we can kind of reach in and grab those TIF revenues now and use them for this project. But because there's outstanding bonds, this will be kind of a subordinate pledge of these revenues behind those obligations. So there's no impairment going on with the town's existing obligations.
What's the timing on consolidating the TIF districts?
Yeah, so it's moved through it's moved through all of the approval processes. So I don't know if there's a timing after the approval or if it's immediate. So
It's completed.
yeah, so it is complete. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that this is all being done in connection with the Paget Commons project. Yeah. And as part of that project, too, under the economic development agreement with the town, the developer will be providing a taxpayer agreement to guarantee a minimum amount of property tax pay on a portion of the development they're undertaking. So in effect, that acts like a guarantee of payment of that amount that would be generated. So that'll be another source of revenue streams that are going to come in on this obligation.
And if either of you want kind of an overview of that Paget Commons project, I'm happy to provide that, or if you're familiar enough at this point. Then
I'm pretty familiar with it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I mean, if there's no further questions, I think we can move to vote on approval of this. So, all in favor?
Take a motion.
Yeah,
Motion for approval.
Yep, sorry. Take a motion to vote.
Move. I I moved to vote to approve.
Seconded. So all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Say aye. Yep, aye for me as well. All opposed? None opposed? Resolution is passed.
And I just should have mentioned for the record, this has been approved by the council, and
Yes.
it has also been approved by the Redevelopment Commission after a public hearing.
Okay, I don't know that there's any other business on the docket for today. So I don't know if there's anyone online or we need to take or answer any questions there. If not, we can adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Seconded. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Aye, none opposed. All right, that concludes the RDA meeting for June the 6th.